What do you get when a Nobel Peace Prize winner ends up at war with his own country? No, this isn't the plot twist of a new HBO drama. This is Ethiopia, ancient, proud, and recently a hotbed of civil war that's as confusing as it is catastrophic. Today, we're diving headfirst into one of Africa's most devastating yet overlooked conflicts, the Tigray War. Yeah, it sounds like something out of Game of Thrones, if Westeros had AK-47s, famine, and geopolitical finger-pointing. But stick around, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand what happened in Ethiopia. You'll probably also be yelling at the UN, side-eyeing your newsfeed, and questioning how peace prizes even work anymore. In 2018, Abiy Ahmed wasn't just a new prime minister, he was a symbol of hope. Young, eloquent, Oromo, reform-minded, he freed political prisoners, welcomed journalists, made peace with Eritrea. Cue the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize. He was the fresh face of a new Ethiopia, optimistic, modern, reconciliatory. But that honeymoon didn't last long. By late 2020, Abiy had launched a military operation in Tigray, a region in the north that had refused to play along with his reforms. They'd defied federal orders, held their own regional elections, and worst of all, attacked a federal military base in Mekelle. Abiy responded not with dialogue but with an overwhelming show of force. Airstrikes, troop mobilizations, communications blackout. What he called a law enforcement operation quickly became one of the most violent internal conflicts in modern African history. Civilian massacres, mass rapes, starvation blockades, his transformation from Nobel laureate to wartime commander was swift and shocking. It's like winning MasterChef and then burning down your own kitchen. But this wasn't just about Abiy losing his way. This was about a deeper structural fault line, one built into the very DNA of Ethiopia's political system. A system so fragile it could only take so much stress before it broke. So how did Ethiopia's own constitution help make this nightmare possible? Time to open the hood. Ethiopia's constitution divides the country into ethnic regions, each with its own government, flag, and even its own military forces. And here's the kicker. It gives every region the legal right to secede. Yes, you heard that right. Every major ethnic region has a constitutional exit clause. This wasn't a bug, it was a feature. A core design of the system introduced in the 1990s by the very group that would later become the federal government's enemy number one, the TPLF. In theory, this was a grand experiment in autonomy and representation. Each ethnic group would govern itself, preserve its culture, and avoid domination by any one ethnicity. In practice, it's like building your country out of Legos and expecting it not to fall apart when someone sneezes. What ethnic federalism created was a patchwork of political fiefdoms, each region operating like a semi-state with its own priorities, its own language, and its own version of history. National identity? Fragmented. Loyalty to the center? Weak at best. And when Abiy started pushing for unity, replacing the ruling coalition with his new Prosperity Party, reducing ethnic autonomy, many regions saw it not as reform, but as a hostile takeover. Most alarmed of all, the TPLF, the original architects of the system, and they weren't about to let it be dismantled without a fight. So, who are these political engineers turned rebel commanders? Let's get into the origin story of Ethiopia's most feared political powerhouse, the TPLF. The Tigray People's Liberation Front started as a rebel group in the 1970s, fighting Ethiopia's brutal military dictatorship. They were fierce, ideological, and disciplined. And in 1991, they won. With other ethnic movements, they overthrew the Derg regime and took over Ethiopia's government. From the 1990s to 2018, the TPLF was the power behind the curtain. They dominated Ethiopia's military, intelligence, and economy, even though Tigrayans only make up about 6% of the population. Under Meles Zenawi, they pushed rapid development, but also repressed opposition and crushed dissent. When Meles died, the TPLF lost its grip. And when Abiy rose to power in 2018, they were completely sidelined. He disbanded their coalition, reshuffled the military, and froze Tigray's federal funding. The TPLF cried foul. Abiy accused them of corruption. Relations collapsed. And that brings us to 2020, the year things exploded. COVID hits. National elections are postponed. Abiy says it's temporary. The TPLF calls it unconstitutional and holds their own elections in Tigray anyway. This wasn't just civil disobedience, it was a political declaration of independence. Abiy slashes federal ties with Tigray. The TPLF allegedly preemptively strikes a key military base in Mekelle. The federal government retaliates instantly. The war has officially begun. From political dispute to airstrikes in under 48 hours. That's not negotiation. That's combustion. Remember that peace deal between Abiy and Eritrea? The one that got him the Nobel Prize? Well, it turns out Eritrea had a serious grudge against the TPLF. And when war broke out, they didn't stay on the sidelines. Eritrean troops crossed the border quietly at first, then violently. They helped Ethiopian forces attack Tigray and were accused of some of the worst war crimes of the entire conflict. Massacres in Aksum, looting of towns, widespread sexual violence. Abiy's government denied Eritrean involvement for months until the evidence was overwhelming. But even after acknowledging it, he didn't stop them. It's like inviting the neighborhood arsonist to help put out your house fire. The war didn't just kill, it starved. Over 5 million displaced, hundreds of thousands on the brink of famine, entire regions cut off from aid. The government imposed a total information blackout on Tigray. No journalists, no internet, no phones. Aid convoys were blocked, bridges bombed, and what happened in the dark was horrifying. Sexual violence was weaponized, civilian massacres occurred, hospitals were looted, schools became battlegrounds. If you want to commit atrocities quietly, you cut the lights first. The world's response? Tepid. The UN? Muzzled by geopolitics. China and Russia blocked Security Council action. The US issued sanctions, but kept the diplomatic gloves on. The African Union, based in Addis, it was too close, both physically and politically, to speak out early. Western media? Distracted by COVID, Ukraine, and celebrity news. If there's no oil and no white tourists, the outrage tends to fizzle fast. In November 2022, the guns went quiet. Ethiopia and the TPLF signed the Pretoria Agreement. Promises were made, TPLF would disarm, aid would resume, Eritrea would back off supposedly. Reality, Eritrea never fully withdrew. TPLF splintered. Western Tigray remained occupied. Pretoria was less a peace treaty, more a political smoke break. Fresh off the civil war, Abiy decided to talk. Ports. Ethiopia is landlocked. Abiy wanted sea access. So he signed a deal with Somaliland, self-declared breakaway from Somalia. In return for port access, Ethiopia would recognize Somaliland as independent. Somalia, furious. Eritrea, alarmed. Troops moved. Tension spiked. Turkey stepped in to cool things down. Imagine trying to fix your broken house by punching your neighbor's fence. That's Ethiopian diplomacy right now. So where does this leave Ethiopia? Still fractured, still fighting internal insurgencies, still chasing coastlines, still haunted by a war with no closure. Justice hasn't come. The ethnic federal system remains unreformed. Militias are everywhere. And peace, still fragile. Rebuilding Ethiopia isn't just about ending wars. It's about rewriting the rules before the next one starts. If you've made it this far, You now understand one of the most devastating and geopolitically significant conflicts of the 21st century. Like the video, subscribe, and until next time, stay sharp, stay informed.